Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs through his top 10 must-have games. And hi there! This is not the first time I have tackled this topic. If you're a longtime fan of the show, I went through my top 10 must-haves about 5 years ago. And if you want, you can hit that eye in the top right corner screen or follow the links in the show notes to watch what I thought 5 years ago when I was a foolish young man and didn't know any better. Today, I'm going to revisit that list, and there have been some changes. But there have also been some things that have stood the test of time. So if you've seen that earlier video, I'm kind of worried that it might be a little bit boring for you. Which is why I've got two special guests today so we can hear what they think as well. My two best friends in the whole world, Shea Parker and Ryan Creighton. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey. I'm looking over there. I have no idea if that's where I'm actually going to put the picture-in-picture later. So maybe I should have looked over there or over there. It's all fine. If you are a fan of Rahdo Runs Through, you have already seen one of these guys, Shea, who I like to call Mini-Me. I don't know if you care for that, though, do you?
It's not my favorite thing, but I don't hate it.
Okay. Well, you've been very polite about it so far, as you grit your teeth, as you see posts on Twitter. But yeah, Shea recently joined the channel and has been doing a great job covering games that either I didn't have the time to cover, but I was really interested in, or that I thought were really great, but just weren't good fits for me and Jen, and I look forward to great things from him in the future. This other dude, though, Ryan, at this point, you may have seen, Ryan and I did, well, I think one of the funniest videos I have ever been involved in. If you did not see Ryan's and my head-to-head over Tiny Towns last year, you must go watch it. It was my video was good, but his was hilarious. Ryan is a very funny guy, and I guess, Ryan, is this your coming out party?
Sorry, can you be more specific?
We'll call it your Rahdo Runs Through bat mitzvah, I suppose.
Hey, do I get to be called Maxi-Me? Or is that weird?
No, that's it. I think you've nailed it. I think all the rules have been established firmly now.
And that's not a weight
Ryan,
crack, I hope.
guess.
That's not a fat gag.
This is how this video is going to go, folks. Ryan does a great channel. Oh, I should say, by the way, Shea runs his own channel, RTFM, which, again, I cannot actually tell you what that stands for because this is a family-friendly show.
It's fine, Google it.
But yes, yeah. I mean, you'll find it very, very quickly. And he does a lot of really great content. Ryan also has his own channel, Nights Around a Table, not the table, Nights Around a Table, and he does lots of how to play videos. And you'll be seeing more of Ryan in the coming weeks, months, and potentially years, if you guys like him, doing how to play rules videos on my channel as well. It'll be a new series called, I don't know if this is it, but probably Rahdo Runs Through the Rules with Ryan, or something like that. And so, I already enjoy both of these guys' companies, otherwise I wouldn't have them on the channel, and I think this is a great opportunity for you to get to know them a little bit better. What better way to understand a person deep down in their soul than to appreciate what they value most in board games, because that's why we're all here. So guys, you have your top 10s ready, right?
I do. And that wonderful camera that I have just turned off.
Okay.
Oh, lovely.
That didn't take long. Say when you're back.
And we're back.
All right. And that was the first, and it probably won't be the last time that Ryan has to restart his DLSR camera because, I don't know, that technology must be stuck in the 70s since you can't record for more than 20 minutes without having to reboot the camera or something.
Yeah, but if I push the button, it spits out like a little gray picture, and if I shake it, you can actually see it within seconds.
Well, all right, please continue to shake it like a Polaroid picture. That would be fantastic. Our first dated reference of the day from the old man in the room.
Far from the last.
Yes, far from the last.
We are all very young people.
I'm a happy 51, so I am definitely the old man in the room, and that's okay. I'm coming to terms with it slowly but surely. So, we all have our top 10 lists, and we don't know, we have no idea. Well, they probably have some idea, because I imagine they did their homework and watched my video from 5 years ago. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, obsessively.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this is going to go well, I think. So, for me, the way I have ordered this list, like 5 years ago, this is not my top 10 favorite games of all time because there's a few extra caveats I applied to myself. One is the fact that these have to be games that, if these are, I should say, I categorize this as the desert island scenario where, you're marooned, you've got yourself, whoever you play games with, and these 10 games for the rest of your natural life. That's it. And as such, these have to be games that can withstand hundreds, if not thousands, of replays. I could have also labeled this top 10 most replayable games. And personally, some of my top 10 favorite games of all time, I love them to pieces, but I'm lucky if I get to play them a couple times a year. I don't know that they would hold up to repeated for the rest of my life. These are the only kind of games I get to play. Plus, I have other considerations like my wife's favorite games that don't always match with mine. So I'm trying to bring some of her choices in because this is it. For me and my wife, we'll never play anything else for the rest of our lives. Did you guys follow that? Or for you, Ryan, I think this is more just, these are my top 10 favorite games, period. Which coincidentally happen to be the ones I would want on a desert island, right?
I think your proviso is, frankly, madness. Because if these are the games you're going to be stuck with for the rest of your life, and they're not your favorite games of all time, what the heck are we even doing here?
Well,
you know what I mean? And if you're bringing Jen's picks in there, if you're stuck presumably on a deserted island or in a shelter, a bunker somewhere with her, how do Jen's choices enter into it?
Presumably Jen's
She's got
there
to play
with
what
him.
you've got. Well, she's there with him, but he's brought the games. He's got the 10. She's got to play them.
Okay, so there's a little bit of insight into the Creighton household. It's my games or the highway, girls.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm happy to play with my wife, but she can bring her own 10.
See,
And her
that was
10
the
would
thing.
be really different than mine.
That the artificial confines of this thought exercise is there are literally these are the 10 games, period. You will never play another
This is
game
it.
for the rest of your life other than these 10. And
I stand by my choices.
all right, well, and same for you, Shea?
So I definitely took the desert island thing to heart. I'm trying to curate a variety of games because it's not just whether a game is good. You want, sometimes you're just in a different mood to play different games. So
Yes.
I sort of picked in a sense, I picked my top 10 of various genres.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see that with my list. It covers a pretty wide range. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Shea, you get me. You're my favorite. Ryan, you're dead to me. And that's
Gotta go do the walk of shame
Favorite
and stuff on
son.
the porch.
Well, we'll see if Shea can hold on to favored son status. For the
I
remainder of
won't.
this.
Yeah, wait till you see his picks. They're awful.
I'm excited. Well then, a couple other provisos I gave myself and the guys. It'd be very, very easy to say, oh, well, I want Dominion because it'll have all the expansion and that's 5 million cards and I'll never run out of stuff. No expansions. This is just the base game, so it has to be the base game on its own. And I also asked the guys, because I didn't follow this list when I did it 5 years ago, let's try to limit ourselves to games that are pretty readily available right now. Because 5 years ago I put Glory to Rome on the list. And that was very unfair because nobody can get a copy of that. And so I assume you guys did the same, right? I mean, these are games that
Yes.
really aren't too terribly hard to get your hands on right now.
yeah, every single one of my games is available on like Amazon or something.
All right, sweet. Be sure, folks, if you go to Amazon, use smile.amazon.com so a percentage of your purchases go to the RSPCA. I only recently discovered this, and I'm very duly chagrined that I hadn't been using it the whole time. Okay, so then, with all of this out of the way, I think we're ready to go. Let's start. Oh, we didn't talk about this. What order do we go in? Do I go first or do I go last?
Ooh.
We should mix it up.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Well, then I will start. I will be the first to speak, and I will be the last to speak. And then for 9 through 8, we'll go in a different order. Let's start with my number 10, Roll for the Galaxy, which, as proof that I actually love my wife, unlike some people in this video.
I love your wife. What are we talking about?
Okay. I love these guys. Okay. Actually, when I did this list 5 years ago, I had put Trajan on my list, specifically because I know it's one of Jen's favorite games of all time, and I love it a lot too. But I was talking with her about this a few days ago, and she said, no, I don't want Trajan in the bunker. I want Roll for the Galaxy. If there was one game, it would be that. And I love Roll for the Galaxy. I don't think this would have made my top 10, but she loves it so much, and I think it's a great game. For us, it's practically a filler. We can sit down and play a game from start to finish in 20 minutes. We played this so much. We have played this game dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and I can safely say it never gets old. At its heart, this is a game where you have a whole bunch of dice that represent different factions of your intergalactic community. You shake them up, you roll them, and then you kind of do this little worker placement game trying to decide how to assign these dice to different actions that are exploring the galaxy or expanding your economic base, and everybody reveals at the same time what they do. And the important thing about the game is, if I can figure out what you're going to do before that reveal happens, I can kind of piggyback off of your actions and sail to victory if all goes to plan. So the game is brilliant in that there's a lot of non-direct interaction, more about intuition, understanding what your opponent wants to do so that you can use that and leverage it to your benefit, which is one of our favorite means of interaction in games. And the other thing I love about it too is, without a doubt, every single time we played this game, as we are done, we feel like we have created a completely new and original spacefaring galactic empire that had an interesting origin, and it shifted. The stories that grow out of this game are always entertaining and fascinating to us, and that's another thing I really love, which is why I'm very happy to go to the bunker on the deserted island in space for the rest of my life with my number 10, Roll for the Galaxy. And now we will say, Shea, what's your number 10?
I wanted to say real quick about Roll for the Galaxy. I like Roll for the Galaxy. I think the reason I wouldn't bring it is only because every time I've played it, I played with my friend of mine who owns it, and he has beaten me every single time. And that's the only reason that I don't like that game. But my number 10, most of my top 10 is actually going to be pretty well-known games. But this one I think is not as well-known, and I think that's a shame because it's one of my favorites. It's called Omen, A Reign of War.
Oh, really? I've heard of this.
So this is a small box game. It's actually originally from a company called Small Box Games, which was then bought out by Colossal, which is how you can find it now. And this is a 2-player competitive card game where you are playing as sons of Zeus who are vying for control of Greece, I think. And the way that you do that is you have a bunch of cards that represent soldiers or beasts or oracles or spirits. And you're playing them into three different towns. And sometimes they'll fight, you measure strength. Every single one of them has a unique special ability. And there are 2 ways to win. You either get a bunch of the towns, control a bunch of the towns, which gets you points, or you perform certain feats, which gets you these 6 different favors of the various gods. And I really like it because it's a really great, quick 2-player game, and there's 2 ways to play it. Either you're each drawing from a shared deck, or at the beginning of the game, you draft every card in the deck, and that is your deck for the rest of the game. So that makes it very replayable for me because even though you're using the same deck of cards, the drafting in the beginning means that you're playing with a different selection of those cards every time. It's a great game. It's got some fantastic artwork, and I've been trying to tell people about this game for years because it came out a little while ago, and it just hasn't gotten the attention I think it deserves because it is one of my favorite 2-player games of all time.
Why do you think that is?
Why is it my favorite, or why has it not gotten the attention?
Well, you just said why it's your favorite.
Yeah.
But why hasn't it caught fire? I mean, I imagine some people might be saying, well, why would I play this over Magic the Gathering?
So I think the reason that it hasn't been particularly well known is originally the publisher, Small Box Games, they didn't do real press runs. They just did Kickstarters, and that was the amount of the game that they made. This is their most successful game, I believe. I think it's gone through 3 or maybe 4 reprints at this point, but they're always small print runs. So it hasn't quite gotten that kind of press. Now, it did get a little bit more attention when the Small Box Games catalog was bought by Colossal, and so they've reprinted it, changed up the artwork, or the box art, I should say. All the card artwork is the same, which is good because it's fantastic. But it provides a very different experience than Magic. Magic is much more about the deck building. You spend the time crafting your deck before the game, and then you bring it in. And then there's a lot of luck, in my opinion, when it comes to Magic. Obviously, the way you build the deck is important, but you do end up being winning or losing sometimes based on your mana draws or whatever. With Omen, especially with the drafting, yes, there is some luck to it, but you really have control over what your deck is, at the beginning of the game, and then you play through it, and the luck is there, but it's not overpowering, and each decision feels important. And you always have something that you can do. So in Magic, you might be screwed by your mana draws, but in Omen, you have the ability to just get money if you want it. You have the ability to draw cards if you want it at the beginning of each turn. So you have a lot more control over how the game works for you.
You're not so straitjacketed by the luck of the draw.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, I've heard about this for a long time, and I remember, when Colossal first started out with Travis Chance, he was talking about how he was so excited to be working with them to try to get this to a wider audience. Sounds like they didn't quite get it out there, but yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about it.
I highly recommend it.
Obviously, because it's going in the bunker with you.
Yep.
All right. What about you, Ryan? Number 10.
My number 10 is an obscure little promo card for a game called The Moses Contraption, which is out of print. The card runs for about, I think it's 80 grand on eBay. And what I like, no, I'm just kidding. My number 10 is Merchants and Marauders.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I will defend it. I think I'm going to have to, because I'll admit it's a flawed game, but it's a pirate game. And I have about 10%, maybe 10%. I've got 10 pirate games in my collection. And I love the idea of pirate games. Yeah. But those pirate games suck hard. They're all awful. And Merchants and Marauders is the only good pirate game that I have. And it's interesting because pirate games are going through like a kind of a moment right now.
I was just going to say, I mean, you might regret
Shea,
this choice with just, this time next year, since we're in the middle of a pirate board game renaissance at the moment.
Yeah.
I am fully prepared to admit, and especially since, okay, so Shea, you did, what was it?
I just did Sea of Legends. I'm also, I think I'm going to be doing Tiny Epic Pirates in the near future.
Right.
So.
And we also have Dead Reckoning coming up, and we have Plunderous coming up. They're all pirate games, they're all Kickstarter. Yeah. So, I will tell you, I'll put this little tidbit out there. Based on, I have played one of those 4 games so far.
Okay.
And my pirate game of choice may change come next year.
All right.
It's early days, but I'll tease that. And I won't tell you which game it was. Okay. But Merchants and Marauders, to speak in its defense, every other pirate game I have is a piece of Merchants and Marauders, right? I've got Pirates of the Seven Seas, I've got Rattle Battle Grab the Loot, and Pirates Cove, and Jamaica, and those are all, and Black Fleet especially is like the pick up and deliver aspect of Merchants and Marauders. One of them is the combat aspect, so it's all little pieces.
Yeah.
Merchants and Marauders is the only one that has the whole kit and caboodle, the whole cannon shooting match in one box. And it's the only one where I actually feel like I'm playing a pirate. Right, Monkey Island asked that question when it came out in, 91, 92. Said, do you want to be a pirate? My answer is, heck yes, I want to be a pirate. This is the only game that makes me feel that way.
All right. I mean, obviously that's its strength. That's why people love it to this day. I don't want to start picking you apart, though. I mean, it's your list. It's your bunker.
Combat is flawed.
Yeah.
There's too much downtime when people are at port doing their port activities. Yes. It's a real snooze fest. Right, I agree. But give me a better pirate game.
Well, maybe we'll hear about that in a few short weeks, is what I just
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So for now, Merchants and Marauders is a placeholder for most perfect, awesome, epic, cardboard, pirate simulation, whatever that may be.
It's early days, but I think it's still going to go toe-to-toe. We'll see. When it all shakes out, we'll see who's got the best pirate game, but for now, it's the strongest contender.
So Shea, what do you think of that?
So I haven't actually played Merchants and Marauders.
What?
I know. Okay.
Favorite son status has swapped.
That was earlier than I thought it was going to be.
I got this.
You haven't even heard my number 9 yet. That's what I thought was going to do it. But no, so I haven't played Merchants and Marauders, unfortunately. But I've heard some things. But honestly, like, I feel like everyone has at least one of those games that, like, it's not perfect, but it just fills that spot in your heart. And I'm not going to say too much because in just a second you're going to hear the same thing. But
we're going to, because you're going to be our first number 9. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, cool. I will say that in spite of ribbing it, I can't disagree with anything Ryan just said. I mean, at this point, it is the ultimate pirate simulation, and if that's what you're looking for, then I mean, it's the best stop for now. I think there are some stuff on the horizon too that I'm personally excited about because it just wasn't a keeper for me in Gen. But hey, I'm glad I'm in my bunker instead of yours, Ryan. But maybe things will turn around. With our number 9, Shea.
All right.
You've really piqued my interest. What's your number 9?
So my number 9 is Eldritch Horror. It is.
Oh, I can't fault that. I can't.
Okay.
I mean, it's not for me, but that game is perfect for what it does.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think that for what it does it very well. Sure, it is Ameritrash through and through. It is you're running around, you're chucking dice, you're fighting monsters, and it's silly and it's fun and it's hard. And I think that's one of the reasons that I definitely want to bring it is because it is difficult. I mean, sure, sometimes, you have an easy run of it, but most of the time, for me anyway, maybe I'm just bad at it, I have a hard time winning this game, depending on which ancient one you're fighting. So, I should say, if, I don't know, you're living under a rock, don't know what Eldritch Horror is.
We probably should lead with this.
This is a game based on the Lovecraft mythos. You are playing as different adventurers from around the world who are going to be going around solving mysteries, fighting ancient monsters, and trying to stop this ancient god from awakening and destroying the world. And you do so by just like walking to town, chucking some dice, picking up a flamethrower or a shotgun, and shooting like a space bat in the face. It's silly, it's fun, and it's hard. Because my win rate for this game is probably around 25 to 40%. Again, maybe I'm just bad at it, but I think that it provides a really good challenge. And sometimes when you're playing a cooperative game, you want it to be really hard. And you want to. I have a little bit of a masochistic side sometimes. I want to punish myself occasionally. And
hey, you're talking to a guy who did a top 10 masochistic games.
There you
I've
go.
done that list, so I'm right there with you. Definitely.
So yeah, it's not an every time, like it's not an all the time game, but sometimes I'm absolutely in the mood to just get stomped and try just to crawl your way to victory. And maybe you do it, maybe you don't, but either way, it'll be a fun time. And sometimes the most fun is when everything is stacked against you, and no matter what you try, it's just, okay, I guess there's even more monsters in my space now. I need to do this, so I'm going to fight them. I've got a pocket knife, and I'm almost insane, but, what are you going to do? So
I guess my one question is, I mean, again, with the proviso of no expansions, because there's so much expansion content for this game. You're talking about this even with just the base box.
Yeah.
Because my main worry would be, I mean, so much of that game, so much of the charm of that game is all those interesting encounter cards and the weird mishmash of, hey, one time when I was in New Orleans and now I'm in the Arctic Circle type stuff. Do you think that would wear thin at all?
I definitely agree that it is better with the expansion. I have one expansion, and I think that does improve it a good amount. But I do still feel like the nature of it means that you are going to get a pretty different experience, even with just the base game. Like, yes, there's a lot more encounter cards with expansions, but each encounter card has 3 different locations, and there's a fair amount of them. So depending on where you go, you're going to encounter a bunch of different stuff. And you never know what you're going to encounter. So even though you know that bit of the story, you don't know exactly what you're going to get at any given moment. So I think that it holds up. Maybe not like a million plays, but like I don't think that I would regret having this on my island.
Yeah, you'd be happy to keep it in the rotation. I mean, it's a big, bombastic game, and like I said, even though it's not for me, I cannot deny that it does what it sets out to do perfectly. It's the epitome of cooperative Ameritrash gameplay. Yeah. Fixes all the problems with Arkham Horror. And
yes.
I mean, if folks want, they can see my run through. I'm sure you've covered it too on your channel, right?
I did. I taught Eldritch Horror way back when. That was actually one of the first games that I did a video on.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Ryan, win me back into your good graces, or vice versa. What's your number 9?
Oh, I was just going to say, all that stuff completely confuses me. Any Cthulhu Mythos stuff, I cannot keep Arkham Horror straight from Eldritch Horror, straight from Mansions of Madness, I have no, as a consumer, as a customer, I have no idea how to even dip my toe into those waters.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah. I mean, that I think could be the subject of its own video of like where to start with that kind of thing. Eldritch Horror is a big one, so maybe not that one, but I don't know, because honestly, the game that got me into board gaming was Arkham Horror.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly enough. Because that should not be a gateway game, but for me, it was. I played that and I was like, okay, I want more of this. So.
Okay, then there's something wrong with your brain.
Oh, absolutely.
We're learning all kinds of things. Ryan, what do you have for number 9?
Number 9, Roll for the Galaxy.
Are you serious?
So that I can play with
your
wife. Yeah.
Oh, you... What's your number 9?
I have something to break to you. No, yeah, Roll for the Galaxy for all the reasons you cited.
Oh my gosh, wow, our first overlap. All right,
Yeah,
maybe your bunker's not so bad after all.
She loves it. We play it a bunch. I love it for the same... You know what? You were talking about the story that evolves at the end of the game. I've never picked that up. We just play it. She trounces me. We pack it up. And that's how it goes. But we play slow. We play everything really at a snail's pace. So we get it done in about 30 to 45 minutes. But one thing I like about it that you didn't mention is that like Seven Wonders, which I don't enjoy at all, you can add players to Roll for the Galaxy without adding a lot of overhead or playtime, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I adore it. It's great.
Wow. Awesome. Shea, you have not played Roll for the Galaxy?
No, I have. That's the one I was telling you that I always lose at.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then currently it's winning the Bunker War. Awesome.
Yes.
I'm very happy about that, as will Jen. That's fantastic. All right. Well, that was easy. Then let's move on to my number 9. Fuse, which I don't know if either of you guys have played.
Never heard of it.
I haven't played Fuse. I've played the second Fuse game.
Flatline, I think.
Flatline, yeah. I've played Flatline and I really like it.
So this is it's a real-time cooperative game from Kane Klenko. The whole game is basically just a handful of dice and a bag. And what we're doing is, in real time, the game gives you 10 minutes. It doesn't come with a timer, so you have to use an egg timer or your phone or something like that, which I'm hoping.
What?
Now that I think about it, oh my god, on my desert island, what if I don't have battery life? Oh, I have to rethink everything.
You got plenty of sand.
Yeah, I guess I can make a sand clock or something like that. Or,
But hold
or,
the phone,
or an
you're
hourglass,
saying that
yes.
a real-time game that relies on a timer doesn't ship with a timer?
Maybe it does.
everyone
I
has
don't
a
remember. I
phone
don't
these
think it
days.
does. I don't think it does.
Crazy.
Or no, maybe it does. I'd have to pull it down. You're right. I know. You know what? I think it does. I think it does have an hourglass, but we never use it because this is a very fast-paced, frenetic game of trying to defuse enough bombs before time runs out and we all die. And so, if in fact it comes with an hourglass, which I'm almost positive it must now that I think about it, you're unlikely to hear it. And so we just like to have a nice loud beep, oh, you all just died because you didn't make it kind of situation. But 5 years ago,
So is it like Escape? Is it like you're rolling dice to...
What you're doing is, it is a real-time dice draft game. We're playing rounds as fast as we can. Whoever's in charge of the bag of dice pulls a number of dice out, depending on the number of players, rolls them, and then we can everybody grabs one die. But the thing is, everybody in front of them has a card that, or more than one card, depending on player count, that tells you what color dice you need and what value dice you need. And often you have to do funky things like stack dice on top of each other, pyramid style, or do straights, and dice values have to add up to equal other values. All just very simple little abstract concepts that for me to defuse the bomb that this card represents, I am desperate for a green die that is at least 4 or higher. And the thing is, inevitably, when we eventually pull out a green die from the bag and roll it, and it turns out to be a 5, if we haven't played smart, you need that die just as badly as I do. And we do not have time to mess around. Only one of us can take it. And inevitably, some of the dice that roll, nobody needs. They're like, I can't use this die, or this. If I put this die here, I'll make the other thing I have to do on this card almost impossible. But every round, every die that doesn't get taken from the draft because we don't have to, you force those dice to be re-rolled, and depending on what rolls, we might lose progress on the bombs we've already done. So this is a very fast, intense game, and key to victory is. It's less about the dice you draft and more about every time I defuse a bomb card, I have to take another from a public display, and I have to be smart, not only about a bomb that won't conflict with my others, but won't conflict with my teammates either, so we can all don't have that situation where we both want the green 5 so desperately. It's super simple. It's pretty abstract, but it's perfect. It is flawless. And when I did this list 5 years ago, it didn't occur to me, but I love real-time board games. And when I did it this time, I realized I've got to have one. I've got to have a real-time board game. I removed CV from my list because the reason I had that 5 years ago is because I love the stories it tell. But then when I brought in Roll for the Galaxy, I get stories that way. And then I had room to bring in a real-time game. And if we were doing this list 2 months from now, Project Elite might take this because it's about to come out. Finally, I've been waiting years for the big Project Elite 2nd edition to be released, and I imagine I'm going to love it, but in the absence of that, Fuse, I think, is my favorite real-time cooperative game, and I think the one that offers the near infinite replay value, because the core puzzle, to me, never gets old. It's always fun. It's always in the moment, and I love it to pieces.
There you go.
Yeah. And, we're done with number 9, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Let's go on to number 8. Ryan, start us out. What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Seven Wonders. Duel. Hold on. Duel.
You were testing us to see if we were paying attention.
I put Seven Wonders Duel on the list because I felt that I needed at least one good 2-player game on there. And I of all the 2-player games that people have floated saying, designed for 2 players specifically.
Yes.
Because I find when you take a 4 or 5-player game and they say, you can play it 2 players, like you can, but it was obviously designed to have more players, right? So a lot of times it falls down. This one was designed for 2 players. And when people recommend stuff like Odin's Ravens, yeah, it was okay. Lost Cities, it's too mathy. This is the 1-2-player game that I think is fantastically done. I love that there are multiple ways to win. It's a card drafting game. You're drafting cards from a pile, and you're building a little tableau in front of you, and the tableau gives you more gold and more resources in order to draft more cards. But what's cool about it is that there are 3 different ways to win. You can let all the cards in 3 different arrangements get exhausted, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. But there's kind of like 2 routing victory conditions. So there's a push-pull tug-of-war token going on with red military tokens. And if you're going for points and somebody pushes that military token all the way to your end, you instantly lose. Like points, it doesn't matter. You're done. And then there's a science victory. So if you collect a certain number of symbols, I believe it's 6 symbols, then you can totally put the kibosh on the rest of the game. The game ends immediately and you win no matter how many points the other player has. So it constantly keeps you on your toes, and you can never sort of sit back smugly like, I got 50 points, the other person has 35 points, I'm going to win, because no, that person might get that symbol and totally smoke you. It's cool.
Yeah. My first question is, what board game or old folks home are you hanging out at where they recommend Odin's Ravens?
Oh, I thought you... Okay. Yeah, I've been collecting board games for a while, for sure. So that was... early in my collecting days, people were saying Odin's Ravens. So I have the original before the redesign, and it was fine. But that, back in the day, that was the one that they always recommended. Oh, you got to get Odin's Ravens. Yeah, 2-player, yeah.
Well, that was a silly
was a
day.
series of Cosmo
nothing wrong with
games.
Odin Raven. It's fine. It's a neat little race game. But I agree with everything you said. And Seven Wonders Duel could have made my list if it wasn't for one design decision that was totally added, did not exist in the original Seven Wonders. The military track is fine, the kind of reverse tug-of-war thing that it has going, except for, as I push my way up towards victory, I'm also destroying your stuff. And it's like, why is that there? Why? It's totally unnecessary. Seven Wonders obviously succeeds just fine without players having to torch each other's stuff to the ground. And that's what killed it for me, because otherwise I think you're right. It's brilliant. And
there's a key difference between us, Rahdo. You don't like burning things to the ground, and I'm like, pass me the match.
Have you played a Duel?
Okay. I've played Duel, yeah. That's another one of those games that, like, I'm sure I would like it more if I ever won it. But I'm very bad at it for whatever reason. I think it's the guy that I play it with. It's the same guy. Same guy that owns Roll for the Galaxy, owns Seven Wonders Duel, and he's the only person I've ever played it with, and he's beaten me every single time.
What's this guy's name? Give me this guy's name.
You're planning on bringing this guy with you into the bunker, and that's your primary consideration.
That's the thing. I guess I need to kick him to the curb, and then I'll just like these games more. So.
Cool. All right, I dig that. So that was your number 8. My number 8 is my first one that I talked about 5 years ago, and I still love it to pieces. It's Shadowrun Crossfire Prime Runner Edition. And I say that because I'd rather have the original Shadowrun Crossfire, but that is all but impossible to get right now. It had a limited print run, disappeared. The new Prime Runner Edition, which is pretty readily available right now, is 95% the same. And in fact, what I should say is I need the Prime Runner Edition, but then I also need a downloadable PDF of the rules for the original Shadowrun Crossfire, because all the components are still there. They made some cool little enhancements to the game, like special starting player powers, but they made some core changes to the rules that I fundamentally disagree with, but the game is completely backwards compatible. And what is it? It is a cooperative deck builder set in a cyberpunk/fantasy future where players are mercenaries who tried to do a job and it all went wrong, and now they are on the run and are being chased by every bounty hunter in the city. And this, you talked earlier about masochistic, this has got to be one of the meanest, harshest cooperative games that have ever come out. Jen and I, we played this game probably close to 100 times now, and we're doing good to get like 30% win ratio. But we still love it. It's fast, it's furious, and I know a lot of people out there insist that it's entirely luck-based, that it's a piece of garbage because, hey, the events that pop up, there's no way we could have prepared for this event. We just died because of bad luck. To them, I always point out, the developers of this game win 90% of the time. And that means it is a skill game. If at the end of the game an event comes out that's just going to insta-kill you, that means you made a bad choice at the beginning of the game. Because it's very rare that I see a game more where your choices are more laden with consequence. Every card you buy to add to your deck, weapons or events or allies that you can pull in to try to stay alive and just survive 3 waves of bad guys is it's life or death, and every decision will make or break you. And both Jen and I love it to pieces. It more recently got a retheme with Dragonfire, and so if you would prefer a fantasy setting, you could go with that one, but I do still think that the Shadowrun Crossfire, because it is a harsher, crueler game, still makes it and comes in at my number 8. Which gives me the opportunity to say, I don't think I said this right up front. Last time, I ranked this list based on just what my favorite games were, which means Shadowrun would be near the end of the list. But this time, I decided to challenge myself. And I dropped this on the other guys. I don't think you did this. My countdown is in the form of my number 1 on the list would be what I choose if I can only have 1 game for the rest of my life. My number 2 on the list is what I would choose if I have 2 games. This is my number 8. So this would be the 8th game I would choose to bring in my bunker. And if I was only allowed 7, it wouldn't have made it in. So that's just
So hold on. So you're saying that in a top 10 countdown,
yes,
your favorite thing,
my second favorite game of all time is the number 8 I would choose to bring with a bunker.
Slow down. I'm not. So the best one is at number 1. This is revolutionary. This is going to change top 10 lists, Rahdo.
Here's the thing. I love Shadowrun Crossfire to pieces, but the things that I love about it, that it does, that makes it my number 2 ranked game in the world, there are certain elements, like Shea said right up front, there are specific things I want to ensure that I have with me for the rest of my life. Even though my top 10 games of all time, my favorite games, do not have a real-time cooperative game, I really wanted to make sure that for the rest of my life, I want to have a real-time game I can play every once in a while. That's why Fuse, which is in my 50s or 60s, comes into the bunker with me, whereas Peloponnese, which is in my top 10, my favorite games just in terms of raw mechanisms, doesn't make it. Because there are other things that do what Peloponnese does. A lot of these things are, hey, Roll for the Galaxy, it's there because my wife loves it, and also because I love the stories it tells, and that means I could clear out CV to make room for Fuse because I really wanted a real-time game as well. And so, I think people will be very, very surprised by what my number 1 on this list is going to be. It's not what you expect. But it's because if I could only have 1 game for the rest of my life, it would have to be that, even though it's probably my number 80 on my actual list.
I would not have expected Monopoly, dude. Everybody just tuned right
Dang
out.
it! I told you we were trying to.
That's sorry. I didn't mean to give it away. Sorry. Skip to the end of the video, you see.
Okay, so I think that was me for number 8. And let's go with Shea?
Yeah.
I didn't prepare for this at all.
No worries. So my number 8 is kind of what you were just talking about of this I wouldn't put this in my top 10 of all time, but I very much wanted to have a dexterity game in this. I think dexterity games are great because there's something that you can get better at just physically. And also, if you have certain kinds of dexterity games, like once you play it enough, you can also kind of just change the rules for whatever you want to play with it. So my number 8 is Crokinole.
Of course.
Crokinole.
Yes.
Crokinole for me is like bringing a soccer ball to a desert island. You know, like this is just something that you are going to be able to play with your friends. And sure, like I just learned, like I just played it for the first time 6 months ago. And I've played it on a number of occasions since then, but I love it. And I think that it is such a pure dexterity game that it has that kind of replayability because it is just about increasing a skill at something.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I really
people
enjoy.
who don't know what Crokinole is,
Oh, yes,
I'm sure
of
I put
course.
a picture on the screen, but
Yeah, so as you can see, it's a circular board. There's pegs around the center. There's a circle. There's a hole in the middle, and there's a bunch of rings. And it's just about flicking a little disc, trying to get into that center ring or in that little hole in the middle, if you can. Trying not to get your discs to go into the gutter around the ring, and trying to knock your opponent's discs out into unfavorable positions. It's a very simple design.
For my Canadian friends, it's miniature curling.
It is miniature curling,
But
in
my
a lot of
Canadian
ways.
friends should know about it anyway
360-degree
because
curling, yes.
Yes.
Curling in
It's-
all directions. Curling in the round. Definitely.
it's a Canadian game. Actually, it was invented here in Ontario.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
They have an annual Crokinole Championship about 2 hours east of here that I actually thought about taking a camera out to shoot.
Cool.
You should. That would be crazy to see.
Yeah. But yeah, so Crokinole, I think it's a simple game, but I think it's fantastic, and I think it's replayable because you're going to play it for a long time. You're going to get better at it. Eventually, you're going to find a moment where you think, like, I'm a little bit tired of playing this as normal, but because it's so simple, you can easily just start making up house rules. Like, you have to ricochet off a peg. In order to leave your puck on the board, or
Inigo Montoya style. We now have to start flicking with our offhand.
Exactly. Yeah,
And that's how we play for the next 2 years.
Yeah, there's so much possibility there that I think it is endlessly replayable in that sense. And as far as dexterity games go, I think that one is maybe more replayable than any other one that I've ever played, for sure.
That is, if I had put a dexterity game, spoilers, I didn't, I would probably give this one, it's the granddaddy. It's what every other game aspires to. It is so good. And the only problem you're going to have is after a couple of years, you'll find your discs don't slide as smooth as they used to because you didn't bring any lacquer to finish the board.
So
Plus, you'll get those dents in your fingernails from flicking.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing I was thinking about, and I'm curious what you guys, how much you took that into consideration when making your list. How much do you count physical degradation of the game itself into your consideration?
I didn't consider that at all.
Because I did not at all. And there's another game on my list that, like, you're gonna see. It would come up if you're thinking about it realistically. If you only have the original box, eventually it will be unplayable because the components will wear out.
Yeah.
I own that copy of Scythe with the metal cards. So maybe those will hold up. It was pretty expensive on Kickstarter, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Got to get those stretch goals.
Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be able to fashion some kind of coconut oil fix.
Yes.
It'll be fine. You'll get it worked out. You'll have plenty of time to figure it out. All right, was
Yeah,
that
we do have
everybody's
the
eight?
professor on the island with us, don't we?
Yes.
We're
Yes,
gonna
of
bring
course.
out the really
Obviously.
old guy references.
Much better than trying to make a coconut telephone is just getting your Crokinole board back up to snuff. Was that everybody for 8? I've already lost track.
I believe so.
Yep, I've done 8.
Hey, then let's move on to number 7. I will start out, and it is a repeat. 5 years ago, I put Jaipur on my list. For the same reason, Ryan, that you put Seven Wonders Duel on yours. I really wanted to have a stellar 2-player only game. I just felt like I needed to have one. And I still stand by Jaipur as a wonderful choice. But I have removed that from my list because I realized I don't need to have a 2-player only game. These are all amazing games for 2 because that's the only way I play games. So that was the main reason, plus I love the camels. And I decided to replace it because the other reason I had Jaipur was I wanted a filler. I wanted a quick game. Sometimes we just want just a fun little thing. And I've replaced it with Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama. Because...
The what?
Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama.
I've heard of
One more
this.
time?
Kokoro,
I've never heard of this.
Avenue of
Tell me
Kodama.
all about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the subsequent 5 years since the last time I did this list, obviously roll and writes have exploded. And
Yes.
I have discovered I really do love them. And while I may be opening myself up for trouble because eventually I will run that pencil down to a nub. Oh, wait, no. Or no, more to the point, I will run out of ink in the dry erase marker because Kokoro doesn't have a pad of paper. It has dry erase stuff. I guess we can start playing with our own blood or something like that if we need to keep playing. We'll
I
figure
suggest
something
starting
out.
that way.
Life finds
Yeah.
a way, as with Kokoro. This is a, it's not a roll and write, it's a flip and write. I'm getting to the point where I'm just going to call them all roll and writes. Who cares if there's dice or not? And it's a remake of an earlier roll and write called Avenue. And Avenue is probably one of my favorite roll and writes to have come out in this huge explosion, if not the best one, because it's a game where it's bingo style. Every round, there's a new randomly chosen card that is revealed that says, hey, everybody, you've got to draw a straight road on your little grid where you're trying to connect a bunch of buildings together to form networks. There's other games like this. Railroad Inc. is a very well-known example. And, Kokoro doesn't really do much new or interesting with the, hey, here's what's flipped, here's what's revealed, here's how you're trying to build your own little network that'll score you the most points over the course of the game. The brilliant thing about this design is, if I recall correctly, there are 5 moments based on going through the deck of cards that everybody has to stop and score what they've done so far. And that creates so much amazing tension because you're just trying desperately to get one last thing in before the next scoring phase happens. But the tricky thing is, you don't want to score too much. Say at the end of the first round, I scored a 12. And I said, okay, that's not bad for a first round. Now, when we get to the end of the second round, I have to score even better. Because if I don't, on the next round, if I don't do better than a 12, I score nothing. But then I reset, and I can start working my way up the scoring ladder again. And this is so brilliant. I'm sure there must be other games that have done this, but I haven't seen them. And
I think, doesn't Fox in the Forest do something like that?
does Fox in the Forest do that? I will
think
admit,
it
I
might.
have not played Fox in the Forest.
it's great.
You have just pushed that higher up on my list of things I must try because I love this. It's such a simple idea. But I've played Avenue with just me and Jen. I've played it with hundreds of people when I've done live playthroughs where the audience is playing along with me. And it is always just so nerve-wracking. That extra tension of, okay, I need to score more points. But if I score too much, I'm really hurting myself for the third round. How can I thread that needle? It's sometimes tough to do because the cards don't necessarily give me what I need. And so you start thinking about probabilities. What's the likelihood that the thing I want comes out? It's absolutely brilliant. And when I started thinking, I really want a roll and write, putting aside maintenance issues, it was the one I kept coming back to. I had to give it. And I should say, I could have gone with Avenue, but I've gone with the new more recent retheme, Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama, because one, it's cuter. It's these cute little woodland sprites that you're trying to help build roads for and stuff like that. But the new version introduced, I think they're called decree cards. And every time you play, you still got the core base game that I've always loved with Avenue, but there's a new different rule-breaking effect that is put into play randomly that totally changes the game. And so that gives Kokoro a ton more replayability than pretty much any other roll and write I can think of. Because again, I want this game to be able to withstand playing hundreds of times. And I think Kokoro wins on that metric. And there we go. That's my number 7. I'm suspecting probably neither of you have played it.
I have not played it, no, but I've heard
I couldn't
about
even
it.
pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I have
if you're
I have
looking-
a different Kodama game that I haven't gotten to play either, but it's been sitting on my shelf for a bit.
Oh yeah, the other Kodama games are lovely too. Those ones are more actually very interesting, using cards to build a nice kind of a route, but it's not. It's a tree, and the Kodama series is really neat. But Kokoro is by far the best. And I don't know if you guys have any roll and writes further on your list. If you do, you made the wrong choice. And so that was it for me. Shea, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is Star Realms.
Okay.
Wow, just Star Realms with just
Star
the
Realms.
base box.
Just make it just a one little tiny box of like 12 cards.
I mean, there was no cost restriction on this list, Shea.
Yeah,
I'm
you
aware.
can
You
spend
had
more than
plenty of trunk
$3, Shea.
space.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I love deck building as a mechanic.
Yes.
I think it is a really interesting thing to add to a game. But deck building games, for the most part, I don't get along with because I don't think it by itself is enough to sustain a game. And I think a lot
Blasphemy!
I think a lot of deck building games, they try to just make the deck building more complicated or try and sustain it using mostly just that mechanic. And that's not interesting to me. I think it needs something a little bit more, or it needs to be very quick, which is what Star Realms is. Star Realms is my filler game for this because for this list because it plays very quick, and as soon as you're done, start it over again and try again. And yes, even just the base box, I could take either the original or there's another base box that they have. I think there's a few at this point. Any of
just
them,
the original.
I
You're
would take.
restricted. That's it.
What was that?
Just the original. You're
Just the
restricted. That's
original.
it. He was very clear.
Well,
Base
no,
box.
no, just
There-
one box. He could have.
Yeah.
If they were standalones, he could have gone with a different one.
Okay,
They're all
standalones.
But still,
Right,
I'd
okay.
say the base box is just fine, and I think that it does stand up to repeated play. I have played this game so many times where I've played 3, 4, 5 games in a row.
As I understand it, there is a thriving tournament scene around this game.
Yeah. So when I was at which one was it? PAX Unplugged. Yeah. I saw that there was a Star Realms just like fun friendly tournament, and I'd never done like a board game tournament at a convention before, but I really love Star Realms, so I figured I'd try my hand at it. I lost every game. And like I don't think I'm
This
bad
is
at
a
Star
recurring
Realms.
theme in your list. I don't think you've had a game you're good at yet.
I'm not bad at Star Realms.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay at it. It's just that we played, and every single game that mattered, I lost. We would play 2 out of 3, I think, and then I would lose like 2, and then we'd have time in between, this round and the next round, so I would play some more games, and I'd win those games. I just wouldn't win the ones that mattered. But like that to me is a mark of a great game. If I lose a game repeatedly and still want to play it, that I think is a great game to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there's a ton of love out there for it. Here's my one question for you. Why Star Realms and not Hero Realms?
I like sci-fi better. I think they're basically the same. I just like the sci-fi genre a little bit more than the fantasy genre.
Let me pitch you before you head off into the bunker. Theme aside, which of course is totally valid. If I had to pick one, I would definitely take Hero Realms, not only because I prefer fantasy to sci-fi, but because Hero Realms has more variety in the box. Hero Realms comes in the box with the same competitive, head-to-head that you're used to, but also a full-on campaign-driven cooperative game as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I've played Hero Realms a couple times, but I didn't know that it had the.
Or you know what? I could be wrong. Maybe that was an expansion that allowed for that.
Well, the comments will
could
let
be
us know,
lying.
and they'll tell us who's right.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Somebody will set the record straight. But boy, yeah, for the rest of your life. I mean, but again, it was the replayability, the fact that it makes you feel good about yourself because you win every once in a while,
Yes.
and you wanted a deck builder. But you wanted a pure deck builder, not a game that, hey, I'm at this big game and we got some deck building, but it's like a pure deck builder.
Right, exactly. And if I'm going to go for a pure deck builder, this is the one I'm going to pick every time.
Yeah. All right.
So that's my number 7, Star Realms.
Do you have anything to say to that, Ryan?
Weak sauce, brothers. Weak sauce. Going from number 7 up to 1, I'm gonna warn you, we're gonna get a little bit heavy on my list.
All right.
And I wanted to say, I don't mess with dexterity games because first off, that's like sports for your fingers, and I don't play no sports, so forget that. I don't want my hand to get all like ripped and bulky, so I don't mess with any of that stuff. Roller right games, you said they exploded. Here's a trend I would like to see implode or unexplode is like, like the cutesy names for roll and rights that are play on roll and right. Like there's one called Roland Right.
Literally
that's
Roll
the
and
guy's
Right.
Yeah.
name. And we're like, it's a fantasy game, so we'll call it Troll and Right. It's all finger guns. No more of that. That's lame, and knock it off, please.
I did not know you were going to be auditioning for the new Triumph the Insult Dog on this.
Well, I just like okay, we're gonna do hang on, I gotta turn my camera back on. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, all right.
We'll just talk
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you had like a DreamWorks themed deck builder and you called it like a Shrek, you called it the Shrek Builder, you'd be a dork, and that's dumb. So don't.
Whoa,
that's all I'm saying.
Where is Shrek
dumb.
Builder? The deck building game.
I think I'd try it.
I'm kind of on board with that, actually.
Yeah,
it's the naming, fellas. It's not the mechanic. Anyway,
no, it has to be Shrek Builder now.
Yeah, it must be now.
Absolutely, it has to be that.
I'm calling AEG or somebody right after we're done with this. Guys, I've got a killer idea for you.
New $1 million Kickstarter.
Yep.
Okay, listen up, fellas.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, smart guy, tell us how it's done. What's your number 7?
Yeah.
Number 7, Terra Mystica.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Terra Mystica, if you don't know, it's a big map with hexes. You play a different fantasy race, but man, theme doesn't matter. It could be anything. It has been really tacked on.
Yeah. What is it, Gaia Project?
Yeah. They've reskinned it Gaia Project.
Yeah.
It could be anything. So you play a different race that have different powers. It's an economic management game. You're moving cubes around. It's boring as heck. But for some reason, I really like it, and I don't remember liking it. I played with somebody.
Your list so far has had. Look, it's got its flaws, and yes, it's boring as heck.
So Terra Mystica, I played it with somebody. I played it a couple times. I was like, yeah, it was okay. That was fine. And then I went and I unboxed. I bought the expansion because I have an illness, and I unboxed it, and that was whatever. And even in the unboxing, I was like, it was really dismissive. I was like, I don't care about any of these pieces. I didn't really like Terra Mystica to begin with. Then after I shot that unboxing, I replayed Terra Mystica. I was like, damn, I love this game. What a great game. And then I posted the unboxing, and I felt really bad that I was slagging it because I really like it. I just like it. It's good. It's very good.
You're
what
not
I don't like about it,
that.
though...
Yeah.
What, say again?
You're not alone in that opinion. I'm sure you have bought the goodwill of a lot of hardcore Eurogeeks out there.
Well, what I don't care for is... First of all, I'm a huge theme guy, and it's not a theme game at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't dig that. I think it's pretty silly that the fantasy races, some of them are like witches and ogres, and some of them are like Native Canadians. I was like, that's weird, right? Some of them are like, some of them are Bedouins, and like those are real people. Those aren't like
okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And in the expansion, they've got river walkers, which are just like the Cherokee, basically. They got moccasins and canoes. Come on, give me a break. It's just like weird that they made that a fantasy race. Bizarre. Anyway, so there's the bit of an issue with that. Good old European games.
To European developers, they are a fantasy race.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they are. And then the other thing that I don't dig is when a game comes out. So that game had a lot of tournament play going on. You mentioned tournament play.
Sure, yes.
And so they, posted a bunch of scores online. And then the designers figured out that certain races were definitely stronger than other races. So then they released errata, and then they updated the errata. So when you get the game, you don't have the complete picture. It's kind of like when you see a documentary and then you go to Wikipedia to find out like what happened after the camera started rolling. You're like, oh my gosh, the Tiger King has COVID-19 in jail, that kind of thing. So you kind of have to go chase down the errata to find out the what's the haps with the newest version of the game.
Yep. You can print that out before the bunker doors close. I'm not worried about that. And actually, you're right. I totally forgot they did this. And everybody loved them for it. And yet, cut to a few years later, Tapestry comes out. They say, look, we maybe need to do a little bit of errata on this. They do some errata, and they're public enemy number 1. But Project, Terra Mystica, well, good on you, developers, for recognizing that everything can be improved.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't need to make this a controversial video. My question for you, I don't think, I can't fault this. It's not for me, because I think it's really the biggest problem with Terra Mystica is it's a terrible 2-player implementation. They just didn't even care.
Oh, sure, and I've never played it 2 players, so I can't comment.
And they could have, with just the tiniest bit of extra work. And as I understand it, there's either a new expansion that has come out or is coming out soon that does address and balance and tweak the game to make for a viable 2-player experience also. But all that aside, why Terra Mystica and not Gaia Project?
First, I've never played Gaia Project. Second, when it came out, I already owned Terra Mystica. third, it was $100-something bucks. I thought, why would I rebuy this game for $100 when I already own it? And I thought, like, I almost didn't release my video for Terra Mystica because I thought, oh, the thing's done now. And then an expansion came out, and I was like, that's weird. And then recently another expansion came out. I'm like, oh, so obviously it's found an audience, it's kept an audience, and obviously that audience shows it stands the test of time. So throw it on the island.
Yeah. I think Terra Mystica is probably a bit more hardcore than Gaia. Gaia kind of loosens the reins a little bit, gives you a little bit more flexibility. And I think Terra Mystica players, one of the hardcore elite, one of the things they don't like is Gaia Project. The board is randomly generated as part of setup.
Oh, they don't like random.
They don't like that. They want it to be the exact same landscape
random.
every single time.
So would you say it's kind of like going from Agricola to Caverna?
Yes, that would be a very comparable. They're still 90% the same DNA. But there's a bunch of new shiny stuff. And the stalwarts say, hi, we're not here for new shiny stuff.
We want everything matte finish.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Yeah. If I were a multiplayer gamer, I would have probably considered this one. Because, there's no denying it's brilliant. Although, again, having played both, I think Gaia Project is a superior. And in 5 years, you will change your tune because you will eventually play it. Right. All right. Hey, that was the number 7s. We're done. Then let's go on to the number 6s. Shea, tell me.
So, number 6, I think that if I'm going to pare my collection down to just 10 games, I need to have at least one party game.
Okay.
So I think, for me, the most replayable party game is Telestrations. It requires only your imagination.
Oh my god!
Is that good, oh my god,
continue.
Or bad, oh my
I'm
god?
sure it's bad,
Please
and I love
continue.
it.
Okay, talk it up.
Yeah. So
for the record, I hardly ever play any party games. I am aware of the word Telestrations.
Okay.
But what is it?
Telestrations.
It's a piece of paper with a pencil, and there's no reason to spend $20 on it, Rahdo.
Well, I don't apparently have pencil and paper on my desert island. I have a coconut, so
you can draw in the sand with a stick. You don't need to buy this game. It's Eat Poop, You Cat, with branding. Sorry, go on. Tell the people about it. I'm sorry.
Telestrations, or some people know it as Telephone Pictionary. This is sort of a physical re-implementation of a folk game. Telephone Pictionary is
again.
Everyone, let me tell about the game, okay? So everyone has a little whiteboard on a little spiral-bound thing, and you start by writing a word, or the way I play it, you can maybe write a phrase in this little box on the first page. There's cards that the game comes with. Throw those away. You don't need them.
Okay.
Just use your
Thereby
imagination.
feeding Ryan even less of a reason to buy the game.
Yeah, exactly. What have we spent $20 on now? We're throwing half the game away? Okay, go on.
Money doesn't matter in this.
It's true.
These are just the games that you have. So
money matters. That's why I didn't buy Gaia Project for $100.
That's in the context of this top 10. Money is not an issue.
Okay.
Just whether it's
I wish I had known that proviso.
So we have thrown the word cards away, and everybody gets to come up with their own word.
So everyone gets to come up with their own word.
Or phrase.
You then take your pad, you pass it to the person on the left. Everyone in a circle does this. So then you look at the pad you just got. You see a word. You flip the thing over. You draw the word you just saw, and then once everyone's done that, you pass that over. Now you have a picture, and you flip that over, and you write a word or a short phrase describing the thing you just saw. Then you keep passing it all the way around until you get your own, your original tablet back. And then you go around in a circle with everybody saying, okay, this is what I started with, flip the thing over, this is what this person drew, okay, I see where you're going with this, let's see how they did, you flip that over, oh, that phrase is not what I wrote. And it just devolves into something very silly. And what I love about this is that sure, if you're a good artist, that works well. You're writing on a whiteboard with a thick, dry erase marker, so it's difficult to be, good and detailed with these drawings.
Sure.
But if you're a bad artist, like I am, that's fine too.
Another thing you're bad at.
This whole list is going to be a litany of all
always
of the
loses
things
at
I am
drawing
terrible
pictures.
at.
You did say you were a masochist, so of course
Yes.
you wanted to bring nothing but pain and suffering for you for the rest of the term.
Gotcha. So you have... So even if you do a poor job drawing, you might still be able to get the message across, but even if you can't, that's funny too. And it's just a simple way to get people around and just have a fun time kind of laughing at the silly, connections that you all make. Yeah. It's a very simple game. Yes, it is a re-implementation of something you can do with a pad and paper. I used to do that before I had Telestrations, but I will say having the whiteboard is just nice. Like, it is a nice thing to have. The limitations of, you've got this thing, flip it over, pass it to the next person. I'll
go one step further and say I do think it is adhering to at least the spirit of the rules that I laid out, which not everybody in this call particularly cared for, because otherwise we should just say, I just want a deck of 52 cards, because then I can do anything with that.
Exactly,
I mean, you're identifying Telestrations in terms of a gameplay experience is one of if you can only have 10 gameplay experiences for the rest of your life, you want one of them to be whatever form it came in, whether it was the commercial box or you just took some notepads and some pencils or whatever, that of all the party games that are out there. And this is my question to you. I mean, this is pretty ancient party game technology, right? I mean, why not? I mean, doesn't just one.
It goes back to papyrus.
I am not a huge fan of just one. Weirdly enough, I think it's fine. I wouldn't say no to playing it, but I like the visual aspect. I think how like wacky you can get with the drawings is great, and I think it really showcases creativity. I think that a lot of party games, maybe party games that I like better right now, will not last the test of time because they're reliant on cards or some other physical component that doesn't change every time you play it, even if they have a very large deck of cards or something like that.
Right.
I think inevitably with these games, you sort of develop your own shorthand or your own kind of tricks for how to interpret whatever the materials that you get are. So with a game that requires you to just provide the prompts, or, I mean, this game does come with cards, but it's very easy to, provide the prompts, and then from that, provide the pictures, I think that that's endlessly replayable.
Yeah.
Because of nature.
Yeah. Yep.
Hold on, I'm gonna challenge you on the word play, because what you could have put in here. You could have said, my game at number 7 or 6, whatever we're on, is eating grapes.
You're real salty about this.
Well, it's as much of a game as Telestrations is.
I disagree.
And it's so funny that you said, it's based on telephone Pictionary.
I mean, I can hear some people saying that this is less of a game and more of a shared experience.
It's a pastime.
But that's why you love it, right?
We play camping. I want
to carry that shared experience with you for the rest of time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not faulting it at all.
Do you play competitive Telestrations?
I don't play competitive Telestrations, but you easily could.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the point of the game.
What is happening? You couldn't play that competitively?
Yeah, you could just make up a rule of like whoever is the most successful at getting from A to B is the winner. But that's the same thing as like you wouldn't like no one that I know actually plays apples to apples competitively, even though there's rules for competition on it.
If you were to, oh my God, that would getting most efficiently from A to B would defeat the whole enjoyable aspect of the pastime.
Yeah, so make up a rule.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Around,
did you just admit it's an enjoyable pastime?
I love it. We play camping all the time. It's great. It's not a game. It's not a game.
The whole thing of like it is a game or is not a game, I always think is such an elitist argument of
it's not elitist, son. I'm a ludologist. I'm a game designer by trade. It's not a game. I can promise.
You just said it's not elitist, and then put your credentials of how you are the one who can decide what is or is not a game. Okay, that's like the definition of elitism.
Well, that's like a doctor saying that doctor can decide who is ill. Like that, isn't that how doctors work? I don't know.
If you would also like to take this opportunity that if I were to say something is decimated, that you will only interpret that as, it lost 1/10, 1 out of every 10 of its units. Language evolves, Ryan. It's okay. We're going to get through this. It's okay.
I love it, though. Shea, I love it. It's not a game. I love it. It's great. It's a good time. But the fact that you spent $20 on it is curious.
All right.
I don't
that would
give
be
you
so controversial.
Yeah, I'm not giving you any shade from what you're spending on your money on. You were giving me shade for putting Star Realms in when that's too cheap. So I don't know what the metrics are here.
Fair.
So I'd say we'll say that it is enjoyable for everyone, even though there's disagreement, and perhaps let's move on to the next one.
Before we continue, I would like to interject here because I'm already starting to imagine the comment section. And folks,
I knew this was going to be the most controversial one, but I was like, I got to put this in because it's just such a fun game.
You want joy for the rest of your life. Yeah. This sparks joy. Of course you'll take it because you aren't allowed any other game experience or shared.
So do grapes. Grapes spark
but anyway,
joy.
One of the things I told the guys, everybody, before we started, hey, feel free to let loose. This, I'm all about, good-natured ribbing and fun. I am imagining, occasionally, you go and read the comment threads on a Dice Tower top 10 where, they're doing a lot of back and forth, and it's just nothing but page after page of, man, they really hate each other. Whoa, that was really awkward to watch. Oh my gosh. They're going to break up the band, aren't they? Folks, Ryan's having fun. Yeah. I just want to get that clear now.
I'm having an immense amount of fun.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're all having fun here.
Yes.
And with that caveat out of the way, Ryan, we will both try to be very, very cruel to whatever your number 6 choice is. What do you got?
Okay. Are we on number 6? Yes, we are.
Yes.
My number 6 is Telestrations.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
it is now.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He convinced me. He made the greatest case for it.
Look, you're jealous you didn't think of it. I get it.
I am. Now I've changed my number 6 to number 1. They're all Telestrations now.
Telestration variants, you mean?
Telestrations After Dark.
Telestrations Duet.
Yep.
Telestrations rolling right. My number 6 is Alchemists.
Wow, really?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you're doing that just so you can have an infinite-powered iPhone or Android.
That's right? It needs to be charged the entire time. Now, you can play Alchemists without the app.
We'll come back to that at the end. Tell us about Alchemists.
Well, I will say you don't want to play this without the app. At all. Because then one person can't play. But Alchemists is it's probably the funniest game in my collection.
Wow.
It's a parody, a send-up of academia.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So what it is you are all playing competing professor magicians or student. No, you're professor.
Yes,
magicians.
you're professors. You get student assistants. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So you're at a university. You're professor magicians. You're alchemists, and you are collecting ingredients that are on cards. And there are alchemicals. So there are magical chemicals that underlie these ingredients, but you don't know which ones underlie which ingredients, and that's part of the game is to figure out that. So you can actually take your 2 cards and put them in your little cauldron stand and just photograph it with the app, and it's like an AR thing, and it'll tell you that a mushroom plus a toad equals a certain, it doesn't tell you which alchemical, but it'll give you a certain aspect, a hint towards the alchemical.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole grid where you're figuring out essentially a logic puzzle game where you're eliminating options and trying to piece it together. But the fun part is that you kind of have to throw that all out the window because you get the most points and the most money by publishing your findings in the magical papers, and you have to go on half-assed information. We can say ass on the channel, can't we?
I think we just did.
Half-bottomed information. You have to sort of like throw it out there and publish your findings and definitively declare that mushroom is this alchemical, and then other people can come in and if they got better information later in the game, they can be like, no, that's completely wrong. Yeah. And they can debunk your theories and totally like destroy your academic work. It's hilarious, and it's very heavy and very complicated, and it's really funny when you're testing potions. You can test it on a student,
yes.
But if somebody else tests it on the student and poisons them, then you have to pay the student to drink your potion.
Yep.
Or you can drink it yourself, and if you drink it yourself, you could end up in the hospital. It's awesome.
It is awesome. And obviously, the only question is, have you ever played it without an app? And just had a friend who just happened to be in the area. Hey, you need to come back over here and tell us something. Because that's the thing. This is effectively a next generation mastermind. But with a whole bunch of amazing stuff layered all around it. But still, the heart of the game is, I'm taking an educated guess and determining a little bit of information about how I've combined these things. And you have an app that gives you that information. Because no player is allowed to know. Otherwise, the whole game would be ruined. And so the game comes with an option where, hey, you got this kind of offline version where there could be a player who doesn't get to play and who just sits there for 2 hours telling you, here's what you found out about that.
So the game comes with a ledgerman, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
But if you ever had somebody filling that role in your game, I wouldn't call that person a friend, because I would never ask a friend to do that.
Okay, so that would be the punishment that is meted out in your new fledgling post-apocalypse society.
Right.
Fair
if
enough.
You're the outcast, you have to go DM a game of Alchemists.
All right. That adds up. That tracks. I think that'll work. Okay.
I've played Alchemist once. It's been a while since I played it. I remember enjoying it, but like I just haven't played it enough. I probably would agree that like it is very replayable. It's been so long since I played it. But I think
we were supposed to tear this one down.
I know. I want to say something like, "Oh, it's an app-based game" or something. No, I remember liking this game.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like saying like, "Oh, I really like Overwatch," and then somebody's like, "Yeah, but you need a computer to play it." Well, yes,
Yep, that is true. I need to scratch Overwatch off.
What I will say though about Alchemist is I think they do something very interesting, which for what I felt when I played it is that I personally hate it when you're playing a video game and they pad out the experience by adding crafting mechanics and here
it comes.
This is a board game that is literally taking that random like crafting mechanic from Skyrim or whatever and turning that into a large part of the gaming experience, and it doesn't feel tacked on in any way. I mean, because it's the core,
it's central
implementation of the game. So what I was surprised about when I played it was how much I enjoyed that, considering how little I enjoy that experience when I'm playing a video game that does it.
Okay. So once again, he turns it around into a positive.
I'm a good guy. I'm sorry. I'm not the Black Knight of this group. Okay.
We'll find something to tear apart soon. I'm sure.
We'll get there.
All right. Well, here we go. My number 6. 5 years ago, on my list, I had Forbidden Desert. And that was probably, at the time, the most controversial entry. Everybody said, why Forbidden Desert? Why not Pandemic? What is wrong with your brain? And 5 years ago, I still stand by that. Because, again, looking at it through the lens of a game I'm going to play hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, I do think base Forbidden Desert, because it has that extra fun twist of the sliding puzzle of the board, it had legs. But I do like Pandemic more, which is why my number 6... Sorry, I have like a history lesson I have to go through because this is a follow-up for me. My number 6 is now Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which came out, I think, like 3 or 4 months after I did this list 5 years ago. And people might say, that's even more insane! Putting a legacy game on your list? You play through it once and then you have to burn it for warmth. What's wrong with you? And I respectfully submit to anybody who thinks that you're wrong. My wife and I have we have kept our copy of Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and we have played probably a half dozen games on that board. Because here's what happens. I'm not going to spoil anything. I know the moratorium is over. I could probably say whatever I want, but I won't. No spoilers.
Ooh, I'm really going to spoil it now. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Payback. Payback, baby. Everybody understands the idea of a legacy game is that over the course of a campaign, you are going to make decisions that irreparably change the game. Components get destroyed. Components get altered forever with pen or ripping things up or putting stickers on and stuff like that. And of course, in Pandemic Legacy Season 1 does that. At the end of the game, what happens is you have, through 12 missions, if I recall correctly, 12 chapters, you and whoever you played with have created your own customized, unique version of Pandemic that is, coincidentally, 100% compatible with all of the other Pandemic expansions. Not that we have any of those in this bunker scenario, but more importantly, you have got a customized version of Pandemic that has about 3 expansions worth of content in the box, quite frankly.
So you're cheating. Okay, cool. I get it.
Yes, I am totally cheating. I am having my cake and eating it too. At no point have I done a big box thing. I thought that was a bridge too far to like say, Alhambra or Fresco, the big box, where it's literally. But I mean, you can play Pandemic forever, Legacy forever, just using the standard Pandemic rules with your customized board. Or you can continue to merge in. It basically gives you a game design toolkit because you can continue to use the rules that introduced all these other elements. this is one of the rare times in my life, post my video game design career, where I said, hey, this is fun. I'm going to take all this stuff and figure out how to make it continue to work. And I've actually posted several different variants of how you can have Pandemic Legacy Season 1 continue to be an evergreen title that is better than most games on the market. Which is why Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is literally my #1 ranked game of all time. It's my number 6 on the list, because as much as I love it, there are still things coming ahead that do what it does and fills a niche even better. But Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I love Pandemic with all my heart and soul. I have a huge nostalgic fondness for it because it's what brought us in. And once you finish the campaign, the game has just begun as far as I'm concerned.
I'm curious to know how well you did through your campaign. So
yes.
What is the state of your board at the end of it? Because
I
feel
played
like
Pandemic Legacy Season 1 as a 2-player game. And everybody knows Pandemic is always easier at lower player counts. So we have again, without going into spoilers, I would say we have a slightly scarred world. Okay. And I have certainly seen other people's Pandemic Legacy boards where, oh my God, the board is literally on fire. Based on, and maybe that was your experience. Here's the thing, though. Those stickers, the adhesive comes off really easy. They just pop right off. And you can, if you choose to, once you're done, basically reset the entire thing to be regular Pandemic. Or you can just say, hey, you know what? This time we're going to play with all of the consequences of our actions. Or another time, let's just ignore those, won't spoil what they are things, and just play regular. And that's how you can have your cake and eat it too.
Okay, so yeah, I played it with a 4-player group, and by the end of our game, the world did not look as it once did. I will say that.
But here's the thing: I would be willing to bet you could still play that board. Like I said, you could either play that as regular Pandemic or as a custom designed board that is a hellish nightscape or nightmare for you to try to deal with.
You're making me think about it. We never tried
just like
it,
you're turning the difficulty level up, and you can compensate for that by decreasing the difficulty in other ways, having fewer epidemic cards in the main deck because we have a harder world to deal with because it's broken, or put more event cards in the player or player power cards, so you can compensate for that very easily, and then. I would, no matter how bad the situation is in your world, I bet you it would still be an interesting board to play on. We would just have to tweak the difficulty to make up for the fact that, the world's in a bad place in your world.
I have a friend named Derek who's actually played the game, I think 3 times now.
With 3 different copies?
No, I'm not sure how that works because I've never played, but he just really wanted to see the twists and turns unfold for new people and introduce them to it. So he's sat through. It's like watching a whole TV season with somebody,
Yep. Yeah. My wife and I, we have played it all the way through twice. Once just the 2 of us, and we did actually play it again as a 4-player game with a couple of friends. And but we're all really experienced Pandemic players, so it was still not too terribly beaten up, our world. But like I said, Shea, if you didn't destroy it or if you didn't turn it into a wall mural like many people did,
a
little box diorama, pull it back off the wall, I think you could still have fun playing it.
I might have to try that. It's at a friend's house, so we'll have to wait until the pandemic's over. But I think we might try and do that because that actually sounds really interesting.
Just play it on easy mode. You only have 3 epidemic cards or 4 epidemic cards instead of the normal 5 to make up for the fact that you have other problems if you play that board.
I will ask you I think what everyone wants to know, though.
Yes.
Which box are you bringing, the blue or the red?
Ooh, good one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, didn't think about that, did you?
That throws me for a loop. Jeez Louise.
What now, Rahdo?
What do you do, hotshot? What do you do? I think blue. We played a blue and we played a red. Which, for the record, folks... It doesn't matter. People still to this day ask, well, should I buy the blue or the red? They're the exact same game. It's just the box art.
I always thought that was so strange.
My wife's favorite color is blue, so I'm going to go blue. All right. Hey, we have finished our 6s, have we? Yes, we have.
Halfway through.
Yeah. We're halfway through at an hour and a half.
Yay.
Didn't you say, Shea, right up front that you wanted to keep this snappy?
Yeah.
If nothing else, folks, you can stop, take a break, come back. We'll be here. We're just going to continue, though, with number 5. Ryan, what's your number 5? You know what, folks? Actually, just because we were crazy enough to film this in one unbroken 3+ hour session where we didn't even take a break at all, we were insane, doesn't mean you shouldn't get up and go walk around or have lunch or something. So tell you what, we're going to put a pin in this right now, take a break, come back to the channel tomorrow, and we will have the completion of this countdown. And as a special bonus, if you stick around to the end, there'll be some behind the scenes stuff, which they didn't know I was going to record and share with you. So that'll be fun too. Now, of course, I don't know. It might be a week from now or a century from now, in which case you can just go on ahead and hit that I in the top right corner of the screen and go directly to the second half of this epic must-have countdown. But otherwise, have a very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.